Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. I'm Snow, and today let's continue my build series with Estra. She's a top-tier seeker-type character who functions quite similarly to Call, which is a character we've already had in the game from the start. Estra is simply just a better version of Call, but she does have a unique skill kit that places emphasis on energy removal from enemies. So in this video, let's go over Estra's skill build as well as her skill and equipment setups. Let's start with her trait skill. It's called Sorceress Bane, also called the Witch Hunt. So there's two parts to her trait skill. In the first part, you have it base star level, and it doesn't change at all when you star level her up. And this first section gives her a couple of abilities. The first part allows her to gain jump at the start of the turn, and this triples her jump power and allows her to transverse over gaps. The second part allows her to gain a magical shield equal to 150% of magic defense. Magical shields offer protection to magic damage specifically. She also gets an attack boost, so 35% of her magic shield's value gets added to her physical attack. So this first section gives her some nice stat boosts for movement, damage mitigation, and attack power. The second part of her trait skill pertains mainly to her special skill mechanic. So for each 1 energy the target is missing before she attacks, the damage dealt is increased by 10%, and this can go up to 30%. And this is for when she's 5 stars. This actually changes quite a bit as you star level her up. So at base star level, it starts off at 4% up to 12%. At 2 stars, it's 5% up to 15%. At 3 stars, it's 6% up to 18%. At 4 stars, it's 8% up to 24%. And then at 5 stars, it reaches the maximum of 10% up to 30%. So her entire skill mechanic has to do with energy removal. So this first part is allowing her to get extra damage for the amount of energy the target is missing. And there's other portions of her trait skill, and she also has skills in her skill kit that remove energy from the target. So she has other aspects of her trait skill as well as some skills in her skill kit that help you remove energy so you can get the full effect of this damage increase. You'll see what I mean in a moment. The next part of her trait skill gets added at 2 stars, and when attacking targets with no energy, her physical attack is increased by an additional 20%. At 2 stars, this is only 10%, and at 4 stars, it's 20%. The next part of her trait skill allows you to deplete or remove energy from the target. So when performing a non-instant single target active attack on characters with magic attack greater than physical attack, it depletes 2 energy from the target and deals additional physical damage equal to 60% of physical attack. So at 1 star, only 1 energy will be depleted, and at 3 stars, that increases to 2 energy. The additional physical damage also changes, so at 1 star it's only 30% of physical attack, and at 3 stars it increases to 60% of physical attack. So this portion of the trait skill helps her remove energy from the target, while also providing additional damage. It's also not hard for her to make this proc because she has a lot of single target attacks in her kit. And as for this last part, it's only added at 5 stars. So at the end of a turn, it reduces the cooldown of reaction skill and class skill by an additional 1 turn. This part of her reaction skill is actually amazing because it lets you use her skills more frequently, and her best reaction skill actually has a cooldown, so this allows her reaction skill to proc every turn. Basically, this eliminates the cooldown for the reaction skill, which is really good, and we'll get into the reaction skill later on in this video. So her trait skill does change quite a bit as you star level her up, but she does get a lot of benefits like increasing her damage output, as well as reducing her cooldown so she can turn cycle her skills quicker. She also starts with a skill called Flashing, also called Shadow Blitz. This is a physical attack where she teleports behind the target before performing a basic attack which has increased damage dealt by 40%, and it ignores assists. So this skill bypasses any type of assisting cover, attack, healing, or revenge. And after this attack, she can move again 4 tiles. If she defeats the enemy, she can re-attack, so she can attack again. This can only be triggered up to 1 time per round. This is a really great skill to start off with, because she does have a lot of ways to increase her damage from her trait skill, so it's really not hard to defeat an enemy and then re-attack again and defeat another enemy. It's also a relatively low-cost skill at 2, and it has no cooldown, so you can technically use this skill twice in a row. So it's a very useful skill to have access to. So at rank 1, we have a support skill and a passive. First, we have Demon Hunting Trap. This is a support skill that's also an instant skill. This lets you place one beast trap, so when the enemy crosses or stands on the trap, it inflicts piercing damage equal to 10% of max HP and interrupts their turn. This is a really basic skill, and it has a really lengthy cooldown of 4 turns. And the other option at rank 1 is one of her most important skills. This is called Thunder Arrow. This is a passive skill in which she performs a non-instant single-target active attack. She attacks the target dealing 30% physical damage and depletes 1 energy from the target. She also inflicts active skill block and energy recovery block for 2 turns. This is a fantastic passive because it gives her another way to deplete energy, but it also has this energy recovery block. So this synergizes really well with her trait skill, since she gets increased damage for the amount of energy the target is missing, but she also gets additional damage if the target has no energy, so the more ways she has to deplete energy, the better. At rank 1, there's really no competition here. You pick up Thunder Arrow. It's one of her most valuable skills. At rank 3, we have 2 support skills. First is Hookshot. This is an instant skill, where you select an enemy within a cross-shaped range of Estra. It will drag the enemy target to her side and inflicts passive skill block for 1 turn. Again, this is a very basic skill, and it also has kind of a long cooldown of 3. And our other skill at rank 3 is just a very valuable skill. This is called Shadow Step, and it synergizes very well with her trait skill. So this is a support skill that's also an instant skill. This lets her teleport behind the enemy to steal 2 energy from the target and then depletes 2 energy from the target. In other words, the target loses 4 energy. This skill is very useful, not just because it synergizes really well with her trait skill, it's also an instant skill, so you can use this before using one of your other skills. So it combos really well with her ultimate skill, which has a high cost to it. It also helps you deplete the enemy's energy, which, again, because of her trait skill, will increase her damage. And again, remember, she gets an additional 20% increase to her damage when the target has no energy. So this skill is really valuable for removing all of the energy from an enemy to get these additional attack boosts. And then you can combo it into another skill, like her ultimate skill, so that you can deal the maximum amount of damage. So for rank 3, you really want to pick up Shadow Step. It synergizes perfectly with her trait skill and her skill kit. At rank 5 are the reaction skills. Her first option is Magical Defense, in which she's hit by an active magical attack. The damage taken is decreased by 15%. This is a great skill for damage mitigation, but it only works for magic attacks. Her other option is called Shadow Evasion, and before receiving an active single target attack from an enemy within 3 tiles from the back or side, she'll perform a preempt attack, teleporting behind the target and performing a basic attack that deals 50% damage, and it interrupts the target's turn. This reaction skill is great because you're basically performing a preempt attack, so you completely avoid taking any damage. It also allows you to deal damage, and it interrupts the target's turn. So this reaction skill provides a lot of benefits. Now this reaction skill does have a 2-turn cooldown, but this is what I was touching on earlier. When she's max star level, she gets a reduction in the cooldown of her reaction skill. So at the end of the turn, you'll get a decrease of 2 turns. So at max star level, this reaction skill basically doesn't have a cooldown. Both reaction skills are good in their own way, but Shadow Evasion is extremely useful, especially in the long run. So it is recommended to pick up Shadow Evasion at rank 5. At rank 7, we have a support skill and a decision skill. The first skill is Demon Guardian, also called Stance of Exorcism. This is a support skill that's also an instant skill. This lets her gain a magical shield equal to 80% of her physical attack, and she gains Magic Defense 2, which is a buff that increases magic defense by 40%, and the buffs last for 2 turns. This is a great skill for damage mitigation, but her other skill at rank 7 is one of her primary skills. So this skill is a decision skill called Potion, and this gives you 2 options. You can select to cast Blood of Shadows or Water of Exorcism. Both of these options are instant skills, and they have limitations, so you can only use them 1 time per battle. The first option is Blood of Shadows, and this recovers 1 energy, and she gains a buff called Dark Devour, which is a buff that increases crit rate by 45%. It lets her generate 30% lifesteal, and it doubles the damage increase effect of her trait skill for each 1 energy the target is missing, and these buffs last for 4 turns. However, when the effect ends, her attack and defense are reduced by 8%, and that will last for 3 turns. Her other decision option, Water of Exorcism, is an instant skill. This dispels all debuffs from Estra, then recovers 1 energy and gains Mana Ward, which increases her defense by 30%, and she gains a magical shield equal to 150% of her physical attack. She also gains control immunity before being hit by magical attacks, and these buffs will last for 4 turns. And when the effect ends, her attack and defense are reduced by 8%, and this will last for 3 turns. This decision skill is a bit of a high-risk, high-reward type of skill, but the benefits definitely outweigh the risks. I mean, the 45% crit alone that she gets from Blood of Shadows will basically help you guarantee a critical hit, especially when stacked with other buffs or equipment. It also makes it easier to get the full effect from her trait skill. Basically, the enemy doesn't have to be missing as much energy to get the full damage increase from her trait skill. This decision skill is incredibly useful because it gives you the option of increasing her damage by using Blood of Shadows, or you can increase her damage mitigation by using Water of Exorcism. So this potion skill has a lot of utility, and it's considered one of her primary skills. So it is recommended to pick up Potion at rank 7. At rank 9 are the basic attacks. The first option is called Feverish Attack, also called Frenzy Attack. This skill deals 50% physical damage 2 times, and she'll gain 20% lifesteal. This is a good skill for self-sustain, but the lifesteal amount is quite low. Her other option at rank 9 is called Spine Pierce. This is a single target attack that deals 110% physical damage, and when she performs a back attack, it ignores the target's physical shield. This has a lot of utility, so she can cut through enemies whether they have a shield or not. And this is a shield breaker attack that's on a basic attack, which is amazing. In the harder content, they love making enemies have shields, so this is a very valuable skill for her to have. At rank 9, you could really go either way with this, but it is recommended to pick up Spine Pierce at rank 9. At rank 11, we have a damage skill and a passive. First, we have Doom Martyr, also called Doom Double. This is a passive skill, and before using a non-instant, single-target active attack, it steals 3 buffs from the target, and after the attack, she transfers 3 debuffs off of her onto the target. If the target has no buffs, and the character has no debuffs, the character gains 4 random level 2 buffs for 2 turns. The level 2 buffs include increased attack, crit rate, physical defense, magic defense, movement, healing, and immunity. This is a really great passive, and it is a skill that you may want to use a Casalia on, because her other option at rank 11 is one of her most important skills. This is her ultimate skill, and it's called Restraint. This is a single target physical attack that ignores reaction skills. It first deals 40% damage to the target, then deals an additional 100% damage before attacking for each 1 energy the target is missing. Damage dealt increases to 130% and can go up to 190%. When defeating the enemy, she'll recover 3 energy. This is an extremely powerful skill, and it's really easy to get the maximum damage because you can combo this with other skills. She has lots of ways of removing energy between her trait skill and other support skills that she has. This is her primary damage dealing skill, and it's her ultimate skill. So make sure you pick up this skill at rank 11. So there's a couple of options for her skill setup. This first option is good early on, and this will let you get a lot of damage out of her. Later on, you'll replace the first skill with her ultimate skill as her primary damage dealing skill. These setups give you access to 1 damage dealing skill and 2 support style skills that will increase your damage. So one is Thunder Arrow, that helps you deplete energy. It also gives you access to energy recovery block, which obviously, this energizes really well with her trait skill. Carrying this passive makes it easier to hit those criteria needed for her trait skill to get the additional damage. And then the other skill is Potion, that's a decision skill, which again, gives you all of those buffs that allows her to increase her damage. And since the potion skills are instant skills, you can use them immediately and then use your ultimate skill. So these setups help you quickly maximize the damage you can get out of her. You can also use Shadow Step instead. This is the skill that lets you remove 4 energy from the target. And since it's an instant skill, you can immediately use her ultimate skill or any other damage dealing skill, and you'll get the maximum amount of damage, because Shadow Step is going to proc all of the damage increases in her trait skill. And as for her equipment, for her weapon, her best weapon is Newborn Blade. She actually has high HP, and this gives you a physical attack boost based on the HP percent at the start of battle. So this is a great option for increasing her damage. You can also use something like Void Stab. This gives you a crit and crit damage boost. You can use this in addition to the Potion skill, which gives you a 45% crit rate boost, so you can guarantee critical hits. For her trinket, she does have a special equipment. I believe this will be released with her. It's called Cage Mask, and it increases attack and defense. And when the character has a magical shield, she'll get an additional attack and defense increase. This obviously works really well for her because she inherently gives herself a magical shield because of her trait skill. Her trait skill gives her a magical shield at the start of the turn, so it's very easy for her to get the additional attack and defense boost from this trinket. You can also use something like Maverick's Cloak. This also gives her an attack and defense boost when there's no allies around her within 4 tiles. It also gives her a crit rate boost, so this can help you guarantee crits alongside the Potion skill. As for engravings, you can use something like Sword and Cup. This will give you access to increased damage and lifesteal. You can also use Sword and Wand, and this will give you an attack and defense boost for each tile transversed, and you get the boost before you attack. Estra has very good mobility, so it's not difficult to get these increases to attack and defense. And for her Whisper, her best option is Fool's Naivety. This will give her an increase to HP and her damage dealt. This will also increase the amount of damage you get out of Newborn Blade when you use it, so it combos quite well with that weapon. And if you don't have enough crit rate to guarantee critical hits, you can use something like Verdict of Justice. But Fool's Naivety is really her best option. Estra is a top-tier single-target DPS character. She has an incredibly unique mechanic that emphasizes energy removal. This unique mechanic allows her to get increases to her attack and damage, making her an extremely powerful DPS. She also has excellent mobility and damage mitigation, with her evasion and ability to get magical shields every turn. However, I do want to note, star level plays a massive role in her power and her ability to deplete energy from enemies, which again is a big part of how she gets her damage. She also only gets the cooldown reductions at 5 stars. She really needs to be 3 stars or better to at least maximize her damage increases and energy removal, so you need to keep this in mind. However, Estra is definitely a top-tier, powerful, single-target DPS character, and is definitely worth building if you get her. Thank you so much for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.